Hello, and thanks for joining us today. I'm really glad you could be here. I am so pumped for this episode because, doing a lot of episodes, like 600 plus podcast episodes, I don't always get to meet with people that talk about the topics that I'm really passionate about. But with us today, I have somebody that is just that person. As a matter of fact, he's built one of the biggest loan broker networks in the country and is like the dude, the guru that teaches loan brokers about financing and how to successfully offer financing. So this is a guy, I mean, literally, we spent like 40 minutes talking before we even started today because there's just so much that we're both passionate about. And I'm really looking forward to him sharing with you today a lot about the business lending space and also about how you can actually monetize in the lending space, not just if you're doing it as a primary business, but even a secondary add-on business if you have B2B customers. So with us today is Konar. Now, Oz is a passionate entrepreneur, multiple seven-figure business owner whose mission is to help people design and build their dream businesses. And his mission is to revolutionize the alternative lending industry, one business loan broker at a time. His training program, Business Lending Blueprint, has been the most comprehensive success guide focusing on leverage, low risk, high reward, and speed. Now, Oz's program has become a symbol of great principles, a solid foundation, following ethical and consultative process to train others how to become profitable in a short period of time. Oz, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure, man. I know we know each other from like different meetings and whatnot, and finally getting together is awesome, and it's a privilege to be in front of your tribe.
Yeah, I feel the same, man. I'm so excited. I love, like I said, talking to people that have my level of passion about something, which you do. And it's cool. I think the last time we met was actually a Jansen's event a while ago, but
Yeah.
we've already talked about some other ways we're going to do some stuff in the future. So what about business loan brokers? I'm going to start here because first of all, what I found is a lot of people don't even know what's involved with being a business loan broker. So start us there. Well, what do business loan brokers do?
Well, they help startups and small businesses get access to capital. As you know, in the United States and also same in Canada, it's pretty difficult for a company to get access to capital, right? You would think it would be easy in a country where 70 or 80% of the businesses consist of small businesses, that's not really the case. And many business owners do not know their options. So as a business loan broker, we help them, well, get in front of the businesses and help them see the options that they have. And that's whether they have good credit, bad credit, and you know a lot about that. Obviously, you're the expert in that area. So these people need help. As a business loan broker, you help them get access to capital. And obviously, by doing so, if you have the right partners, if you have the right structure, you can build yourself a 6, 7, and 7-figure business. So that's what business loan brokers do in a nutshell.
So do you think that now is a really good time to become a business loan broker with this COVID shakeup or not such a good time?
I mean, anytime there's some kind of crisis in our industry, it benefits the business loan brokerage, alternative lending industry. I'm sure you remember the 2008 recession, right? So all the banks were changing their lending criteria, and they were already strict on lending. They made it even worse. That was the time the alternative lending industry started thriving, and this is the second rate that it took through the COVID. It's not because the offers are getting better. It's because more and more people are noticing that it's very difficult to rely on national traditional banks. You need to have access to capital outside of those large corporations. So the demand is more than ever. This industry, when I first started out, it was a couple of $100 billion industry. Now it's tough to measure it, obviously, but it's a couple of $1 trillion industry and growing. And we're nowhere near supplying the demand that's out there. We're not even halfway there. So anyone who's interested in starting their own business, I suggest they check out the opportunity at least to have some information on how this works.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that I didn't know business loan brokers existed. Like when I got into this space about a decade ago, probably, well, yeah, but right about there. I didn't even know business loan brokers existed. I mean, I was a mortgage broker, so I know about mortgage brokers. I think mortgage brokers are pretty commonplace, but I'm still shocked at how many people don't even know that there's an expert you could talk to that helps you with all aspects of getting funding for your business. So why is it so few people even know that these experts out there that are loan brokers exist that can help them get capital?
Well, a lot of people's attention are driven by the ads, right? And all the ad space is pretty much bought out by these big banks telling you, hey, you want to get access to funding, you can get access to funding. But the whole system is actually designed for mid-sized to large-sized businesses to get access to capital. If you have 70 employees, 80 employees, if you have a board of directors and whatnot, sure, they're going to give you the capital. But for mom and pop, they're kind of left behind on what they can do to get access to capital. All they know is, oh, if I need money, I'm going to go apply for some credit cards. Well, how do they apply? What do they apply? They have no clue how to do that. And if I need a loan, I'm just going to walk into my branch. Hopefully they're friendly. I've been depositing my money into the same branch for the past 10 years. So hopefully they're going to give me money. So there's really not a lot of places they can get their information from the right source, right? The resources are not really there a lot, and then they're just going by whatever they see online or offline as far as advertisement is concerned. And like you said, about a decade ago, I was selling credit card processing door to door. I was a salesperson, sales director. I didn't know anything about loan brokerage until one day a lender approached me and said, listen, you got a big book of business. What if you start offering these people some merchant cash advance? I'm sure they need funding. And anyone I talked to became a lead because no one knew what merchant cash advance was. And right now, we don't have just merchant cash advance. We have so many different products, but back then it was limited. And I think the second person I talked to, I got them funded, and I made my first $4,000 check. I'll never forget it because that was the biggest amount of check for one transaction, right? So even I was in the financial service industry like you are, but even I didn't know the industry myself. So that's why I think you and I feel really passionate about this because it has become our duty to inform people of these choices so they're not taken advantage of. At least they understand the options. They can freely choose whatever is best fit for them.
Yeah. It's funny, a similar trajectory. I mean, I remember I made a lot of money in mortgages. Then I went to credit repair and didn't make very much. And then when I did my first deal, I had like $2,000. And I remember I spread out all the $100. And I still have that picture today, like on the little console of my car. Because it was like, what? I made thousands of dollars in one deal. It was awesome. And the customers didn't, they still got a lot out of it. And that's what I love about lending space is that, we can make money on points or back end or whatever doesn't cost them too much in the scope of things, but then they get a huge benefit by getting the mortgage, by getting the loan, et cetera, that it provides them. You've touched upon something that I noticed as well. I think the statistic now is over 90% of funding comes from alternative sources, but banks have really pulled the wool over their eyes where a lot of people still get that marketing, think banks are the place to start. You've established that banks are not the place to start. So where is the place? Like, tell me a little bit about the alternative lending world that's out there and what kind of options are out there for people looking for loans.
Sure. There was a statistic before the pandemic that the big banks declined about 76% of the loan applications from small businesses. When you think about it, that's crazy, right? They welcome you to apply, although they know they're going to decline 2/3 of the applications. And now we're, I think, getting to the end of the pandemic. Forbes article came out. Now they're only, the decline rate went up to 86% from 75%. So the odds of small business getting funding through a bank is like 10 to 15%. Not only that, their paperwork is horrible, as you and I know, and the whole process takes, and I think there was an article in Financial Times, Wells Fargo, they took somebody's application and it took them 10 weeks to make a decision on it after the client completed all the paperwork and the decision was a decline. So this small businesses do not have the luxury to sit and wait for a big bank to take their time for 8 to 10 weeks, right? So if the fridge breaks, you got to fix it like today. So you need funding really, really fast. You're not a corporation planning for your next 2-3 quarters. So going back to your question, what the options are based on the specific need. So as a small business, you got to determine what do you need the money for? Is it for buying another location? Are you buying equipment? Are you planning to start a business? So you need just initial seed funding of $20,000, $30,000, $50,000. And based on that specific need, look for the lending options or the brokers. Usually people are sold into this blanket idea. I need funds, and no one wants to know why they need the fund. And they say, go through our paperwork application and we'll take a look at it, right? In alternative lending, it really doesn't work that way because some options barely require any paperwork. Right? So you got to first determine, all right, what do I need the money for? Am I buying out my competition? Is it for survival? Do I need fast funding? Do I need the funds like tomorrow? Then based on that, you can narrow down your approaches. If it is fast funding, you can do merchant cash advance or some other faster funding options. If it is a startup funding, you can do credit card stacking. So I think that what I would suggest to anyone who's looking for some type of funding, don't just look for how to get funding. Find specificity is key on what you need. Based on that, you can search for an alternative lender who specializes in that area.
What kind of loan programs do you see most commonly business owners taking right now?
Yeah, the most common, I think I would say within our community, we have over 3,000 brokers, about 65% of them help people start their businesses. Startup funding is leading the way. That's like the number one option. And because most startups do not need Silicon Valley money, right? They're not going to show up on Shark Tank and get evaluations of millions of dollars. Maybe they're going to start a bagel shop and that requires whatever, 20, 30, $50,000. So people who need money anywhere from 5,000 to 150,000, that's the bulk of the people who our members deal with to get startup funding. The second is real estate, fix and flip properties, buy and hold. Anyone who's investing into real estate know that you can only take advantage of the government programs so much. You can get lower rates, really, really low government-based lending options for your first and second property. But anything after that, you need a contact who can help you get you access to funding for millions of dollars so you can keep investing into it. The third one we see is the fast funding. Someone who needs funding really, really fast, and they need to take advantage of the offers right now. They don't have time to, gather 12 months of paperwork, profit and loss statements, past 2 years of tax statements and all that. So they just need funding really, really fast. So those are like the three main categories of how our loan brokers are helping businesses out there.
What are some things you're doing, you and your loan broker network, to help business owners pre-qualify before they apply? Are you kind of helping them get themselves structured the right way where they have the best chance for approval?
So we have you for that. Your platform is amazing for that, to get them ready. A lot of our members work with you and your community because of that. But that's something we cover a lot in our training too, because then we provide them. Every member of us gets something called flowchart. That's literally like 3 feet by 2 feet poster they receive in their house when they join. They hang it up. That shows them how to walk somebody through the specific questions you need to ask someone to determine where they are, whether they have good credit, bad credit, are they working on building business credit? Do they even know what that is? And what's their approach for that, right? So they know the specific sequence of questions and responses that they need to go through in order to qualify someone or disqualify someone to see if there's a fit for them. But yeah, that's something that is really, really important that people are not really informed on, like their personal credit, how to get rid of their personal credit, how to build business credit, so how they have access to higher credit limits. I mean, you're the beast when it comes to that industry. But yeah, that's for our brokers, that's an important part of understanding what goes into qualifying. Otherwise, everyone wants to pitch a rate, right? So here's what I can do for you, but that doesn't help anybody. We want to create win-win situations. We want the customer to be super comfortable that they've gone through all the potential options they could get qualified for, and they choose the best one. We want the brokers to be informed enough to be able to offer all the options for them.
What are some of the things specifically that you're saying these banks look for that can either get somebody denied if they don't have it, or give them a better chance for approval if they kind of meet that criteria?
Depends on what kind of funding we're talking about, but a lot of times what they get stuck is inconsistencies, right? Somebody's using Gmail email, their address is one here, the other one is there, they're using a PO box, and maybe they use WeWork and all that stuff, and they're missing the documentations. They don't do a good way of keeping track of all the documentation they need. It's not so much this approvals come from them being disqualified because of their business model. It's just they're missing documentation. They don't have consistency. So that's the first thing that we tell a business. Listen, I mean, I just looked you up online. Either A, there's nothing about you. B, the information about you is kind of all over the place. So a bank is not going to look at this and get excited about funding you as a business. The second thing is banks really do not have startup platforms. Don't even bother going through a bank and asking for startup funding unless you're ready to collateralize your home, your car, or something else to put against the business, where you have other options, you can start using other people's money. And if you know what you're doing, and get access to a lot of capital in a relatively short amount of time and start running your own business.
Does somebody have to have a lot of knowledge to work with you to become a business loan broker? Do they have to have certain kind of criteria? I mean, can anybody just come in and become a business loan broker and be successful?
I wouldn't say anybody. You got to be entrepreneurial, right? One thing that I put a lot of emphasis on is you got to have a why. If you're just planning to start a business just because you hate your boss, go change your boss, right? But you got to have a strong why as to why you want to start a business, let alone being a business loan broker. If you have that, I think there's a statistic out there, more than 70% of the people at some point think about starting their own business, but many of them do not. So I tell everyone that I talk to that if I ask you why you want to start a business, you got to be able to give me a clear answer. Either that could be because I want to reach certain income, I want to live in a better neighborhood, I want my kids to go to this, or I just, that what I do is painful and it's killing me, right? So there's got to be specifics. After that, industry-wise, no, you don't need any prior experience, you don't need to have any sales and marketing experience. We cover all of that, but I can't help somebody if they don't have the why, because they're not going to follow through, right? So you got to be coachable, you got to be okay with following a proven plan. And something probably you come across a lot too, right? People who are going to succeed are the ones who are going to follow step-by-step processes, and they're not going to be afraid to just jump right in and try it and give their best effort. And those are people who are going to succeed. So that doesn't require prior experience, but it requires drive, motivation, and a strong why on why you want to succeed.
What are you doing along the way to help your audience and network actually market successfully to get new leads?
For them to get leads?
Yeah, I mean, like you help business loan brokers come in, train them everything they need to do to be successful. Are you seeing other strategies, or what do you do to help them then come in the door, get the training, know how to broker loans, but then actually go out and learn what's needed to get customers?
Yeah, so we have our platform is constantly updated. It's not a stagnant training that we reported 3 years ago. They check it out. So they get access to over 10 different marketing strategies, from organic strategies that doesn't require any money at all, and from also paid strategies. We teach them on Facebook advertising, like you and I use it a lot, right? YouTube advertising. I mean, we're one of the biggest spenders on YouTube ads in the entire country right now as a company. So we inform them on that one. We give them resources on how they can keep themselves updated as a loan broker, because things do change. We have partnerships with different associations and different networks, and we allow them to get access to funding. If anything changes, for example, our network uses a lot of LinkedIn marketing, and LinkedIn is going through changes, right? So we do an updated training on LinkedIn. And most importantly, I tell everyone in our community to stay plugged into our system. It's been a few years, and I myself do the weekly calls. We have a live weekly Q&A call. We all jump on the phone, and it's a Q&A call. It's not a coaching call. They're asking questions and we're answering them. And also, the other thing that many people do not notice, we assign them, they all get assigned a coach, meaning that they can book up to 2 Zoom calls with their coach one-on-one from my company to discuss their specific situation. And they have lifetime access to that. So there's no way they're going to be left behind in this industry, as long as they take advantage of what we offer. Like, I mean, you get your own coach. It's not like a group coaching thing. It's one-on-one coaching. You get the weekly call. So it's layers of training to keep them up to date, keep them sharp, and also give them the best potential partnerships out there.
Have you seen a difference between the partners or the I call them partners in our company? Have you seen a difference in the brokers that you bring in that are really successful and the ones that aren't? Besides the entrepreneurial type of skills, do you kind of see a difference between what the ones are doing and who they are that become really successful versus the ones that aren't?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, it's really tough on the get-go who's going to be succeeding and who's not going to be succeeding. We set up certain filters in place. So if we see that this person is not really a good fit, we don't let them in. But once they're in, those who make it happen, they don't make it complicated. They keep it simple. And they're not afraid to take what I call imperfect action. They don't wait for the perfect moment, the perfect training, the perfect person, the perfect client. They just make it happen, right? So a lot of people talk about, I'm not ready right now. Well, I'm telling, when are you going to be ready? Do you even know? Like, is there something measurable? So what they learn on day one is probably more than 90% of the industry knows about the lending, like especially the business owners out there, right? So it's all about taking imperfect action. Like, we had people who joined the program, they used to be a truck driver, funded their first deal within 4 days, right? So there's no way this guy could have gone through all the content in our platform in 4 days. There's just no way. So how did he succeed? Well, he just grabbed one of the products and just watched it and just did what we suggested doing. I think his mom brought the first client because it was talking to his mom, and mom talked to somebody else, and the client came in and they sent the client to our partner, and the deal got funded. So we have a lot of stories like that is not physically feasible for them to go through and master everything, but they just take one thing, own it, and take imperfect action. Those are the people who build, like, we have members in our community who were not from the industry. Within 1 year, they built a 7-figure broker shop. Like, that's pretty difficult to build a 7-figure business in 1 year, right? But when I look for a common thread or common team, that's what it comes down to. They just take a lot of action.
So is that really what it is? Because, how can somebody really become successful in a short period here and build a 6-7 figure business in the loan broker space?
100%. But if that's the goal, right? We have a lot of people who just want to get rid of their full-time job.
Yeah.
And that's why I created a structure called BAMOS, BAMOS. BAM stands for, it's like a 3-tier system, bare ass minimum. When someone joins, I tell them, what's your goal? And everyone's like, I want to make a couple of $1 million. I'm like, I understand that. But what's your bare minimum cost of living right now to sustain the standards that you live under right now? Oh, I make 5K from my job right now. Okay, so our first goal is to match that. So you get rid of this draining job that you're investing 50, 60 hours a week and you're complaining about, right? So you got to get to the first tier first. Because, if you just hype it up and say everyone can become a millionaire, first of all, that's not true. Second of all, it lacks the structure. You need a structure to build a 7-figure business, right? You build 7-figure, 8-figure businesses, and the same thing here. It just doesn't happen overnight, and it's not for everybody. So first, we want the person to decide what they want to accomplish. Maybe they want to make 10 grand a month, and that's going to be amazing for them. Maybe they want to get to 20, 30K. And we have others who want to build a 7-figure business. Is it possible? They're absolutely possible, but you got to be okay with putting everything you get in there, right? Follow the directions, work long hours, build a team. That's how a few of your people have done it. And they were not afraid to pull themselves into all the action. Others, if they want to get to 10K, they get to 10K. And usually when they reach that number seems small and they want to move on to the next stage. But yeah, can it be done? It has been done. It can be done. Can everyone build a 7-figure business? No, not really, because you probably don't have a strong enough why to go through all those efforts to build a 7-figure business. But it kind of follows the 80-20 rule, right? Some people, smaller percentage, will always go for the extreme amounts of levels of success to build a business, whereas others will be settled with anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000 per month, which is still an amazing amount of income for anyone in the United States.
What about knowing what product to offer? Like the guy you brought in 4 days, trucker, he doesn't know. He couldn't have known a lot to be able to place and fund that deal. So do you give him solutions both ways for the person that wants to learn it all, figure out how to place, versus just send it to your team and let your team help with that?
Yeah, they need to know, they need to understand the products. That's why we provide them the flow chart. This is like a mind map. Even if you're on the phone with somebody and you're just following that mind map, it leads you to different products based on the answer a client gives you, a potential prospect gives you. Hey, how long have you been in business? Oh, it's been 3 months only. If that's the case, it leads you a different solution, right? Even if you know nothing and follow that, it will end you in a box that either you disqualify the person altogether, but it shows you who to contact, what the next step is, and what you need from this client. So that's the exact method that our members have been using. So yeah, there's no way you're going to master all the products, but what if you can follow a chart, a flow chart, we call it, lead generation flow chart, that you can follow the model and it tells you, all right, now you're down to this partner or this specific product. This is what you need from them. Either pass it off to your partner or have them do it, or do you have access to direct lenders? So you bring in what you need to bring in and get that done, get that locked in.
When you're doing that, do you find that there are products that you successfully have your brokers offer for those that can't get funding?
If they can't get any funding at all, so then we have 2 options to do. Put them through a credit repair program so they can become more fundable. So we have partners for that. We train them on that. If they're not fundable at all, then we help them understand why that happened, and then we offer solutions based on that. Here is what we could have done for your business. Here's why it hasn't happened. Here's why the situation is not going to change unless you do X, Y, and Z. And then it goes through a different partner that will help them with their situation.
Do you help them then graduate up to other kind of loans? Because you and I both know that most people want SBA loans, right? Because they're longer term, lower.
Why not? Yeah.
If somebody gets cash flow financing, do you help teach your brokers then what it takes to then move them up to a better tier loan in time?
Absolutely, because the goal is not to serve 1,000 customers. The goal is to have repeat customers. The way you do that is you solve their immediate problem, but then you also help them graduate to better options, like such as an SBA, and they might not be a good fit for it right away. So you help them solve that problem, but you bridge it to the next product and walk them through the process. For example, an SBA could take 3 months, right? Why don't you take care of the immediate need right now by providing rapid funding, but help them get through that stage of waiting 60, 90 days and get them ready for the SBA. So you have a customer for life, and they're going to come back for more and more and more, because on average, a good customer will get funding up to 3 times a year. So you don't need as many customers as someone who's getting their clients through telemarketing and they have to dial 600 people a day, right? Because there's really no relationship there. They're just cold calling to get somebody. Whereas if you, do it through a consultative model, then you don't need as many customers, but you can make a lot more money.
Belief, I can't get money as a startup business. You can't help somebody get money as a startup business. Accurate or not accurate?
Accurate.
So you can help somebody get some money as a startup business, or they can't?
We can certainly help them get funding for
start a business. Yeah. What about if I have serious credit challenges, like 5, 10 credit score? Can you help me get funding?
Absolutely, but not immediately, but they need to be resolved. For them to be successful, sure, they need to take care of it anyways, but also we show them how they can get a co-signer and get access to funding while we help them fix their current situation. So there are different ways to do that, but it is certainly, the answer is yes, it's certainly possible.
Able to get financing if I don't have collateral?
Well, yeah, in alternative lending industry, a lot of the funding options do not actually, they do not actually require collateral. That's the main part that separates what we do from the banks. Because if you go to a bank, that's the first thing they want to know. Besides your credit and revenue and all that stuff, what kind of collateral do you have? Do you want to put against, if you have a house or car or something, for us to take the risk on giving funding to you, right?
What about the ability or the time frame to get a loan? Like, how long does it take for somebody to be able to actually come in, talk to one of your brokers, talk to you, and actually secure a loan?
Yeah, the sales cycle varies product by product. For example, if they're going for real estate, obviously there are things out of our control, like appraisal process and closing and title work and all that stuff. It can be a couple of weeks to 1 or 2 months, but there are funding options that you can literally just talk to someone and get the money in their bank account within 48 hours. So it can be as fast as that, depending on the funding option. But that's where the consultative approach comes in. We don't want to overpromise something we can't really do for that client. That's why you need to first provide consultation to them and have a good, deep conversation with them to understand where they are. And if the rapid funding, fast funding, working capital is the best option based on their situation, sure, it can be as short as 2 days, sometimes even 1 day, but it's a little extreme. But usually 48 hours to a couple of days, and depending on the product, it can be as long as a couple of weeks.
What are some things that you'd like anybody that's thinking about becoming a business loan broker to know? Maybe it's things that you see people think that they come in with limiting beliefs that aren't really true, or whatever. Maybe what are some things that you think are essential for anybody thinking about getting into the business loan broker space to know?
Yeah, so when you're thinking about starting a business, you got to make sure that you have a couple of things under control when it comes to choosing the right business model. And this pandemic reminded us what those are, right? If you're building a business, you want to make sure that this is a business you can build from home, right? If you're locked down, there's really not much you can do. You need to be able to build it from home. The second thing is you want your business to be not affected by recession or even pandemic, right? So when you narrow it down by these 2 criteria, there are really not a lot of choices out there. And so when we talk to somebody who's interested in building a business and they tell us, listen, I'm looking at different business models, we want to understand what business model they're looking at, right? Either you're at the mercy of, let's say, Amazon.com if you're in e-commerce, or you're starting a business that's very location and geography specific, or you're becoming a business loan broker that doesn't require any experience, any degrees, or any licensing, and it's recession proof. I mean, it does better during a recession, during tough times, and you can build it from home. Unlike back in the day, like boiler room strategy, you don't need to put 20 people in a room and have them telemarket the heck out of their lives. You can literally do this online and build a business without any employees up to 20 to 40K per month just on your own. So when you put it all together, I think it's the most advantageous and the most business to start in this day and age than any other options out there.
Yeah, it's funny. I oftentimes think about what would happen right now if my business completely went away and I had to go start. I'd go be a loan broker.
That's it.
That's what I do. Of everything I've learned, 600 episodes of podcasts, talk to everybody in every industry you can imagine. Guys, that's what I'd do. I'd go become a business loan broker if I had to start all over again.
Same here. If they took everything from me and dropped me off in a city that I've never been to and gave me like a pen and paper and that's it, that's what I would sell.
Right.
Like I would just talk to people and talk to the lenders and become the broker and help them out and make money in 2 to 3 days. So 100%, I agree.
Where can everybody go to learn more?
Every information that we have, including our YouTube channel and the videos in there, is at businesslendingblueprint.com. You Again, it's businesslendingblueprint.com, where they can find all the information, free videos, hundreds of testimonials from our actual students, like video testimonials. So at least they can be informed about this choice, whether they decide to do it or not. Obviously, it's up to them, no pressure, but at least be informed about this option and see what's out there for you, you know?
Awesome. Thanks for coming and joining us today.
It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor.
So listen, you're watching and listening to this. There's a couple things. First of all, I'll give you a bunch of advice about just getting general business financing. And I think he dispelled a bunch of myths that are out there about the type of financing you can get. I think you've got insight to see that the money is available, but it's so powerful to become a business loan broker. And he's very humble in not really saying how powerful it is right now, but post-COVID, there's so many people, anybody in this space, it's just explosive growth because business owners, a lot of people are getting into business right now. And a lot of the people that are in business are wanting and needing money to be able to get to the next level. So it's just an explosive industry right now to get into. And Oz is the dude, like this is the man when it comes to being able to bring in business loan brokers, train them, and help them actually become successful. So if you're thinking about this at all, not even as a primary business, maybe you do want it to become your primary business, great, but maybe you just work with other businesses. And even in that case, there's a good chance they may need money. You notice how Oz said he got started on this, is that he was in another industry, and then somebody came and said, why don't you offer your customers this kind of loan? He did, and all of a sudden saw more money in there than by far he was making his other industry, made a shift. So even if you're adding this as a secondary service just to help your customers get money to buy your primary service, or you're, come in and be able to use it just to supplement and an upsell offer to your customers. There's a lot of solutions that him and his team offer, including ones where you don't even have to do all of the work. His team can help you with parts of the placement of loan and on top of the knowledge and education that you get. And it all happens at businesslendingblueprint.com. It's businesslendingblueprint.com. The site's ridiculous. There's all kinds of stuff here. There's a whole resources center that I'll get stuck into for hours. Thanks, Ozzy. I get stuck in this place for hours. There's video blogs here, webinars, success stories, Facebook groups. I mean, everything you could possibly want resource-wise to get you started down the path and become a business loan broker. Maybe you're already down the path. Maybe you're already offering loans now, but you're not as successful as you want to be. Maybe you don't have the marketing strategies down. Maybe you don't understand properly how to monetize leads, or you're not offering them all the right types of programs. All those kind of things can be fixed right here by going to businesslendingblueprint.com. So make sure you visit businesslendingblueprint.com and talk to Oz and his team about becoming a successful business loan broker, very lucrative. And again, we're two really successful guys. And to have two really successful guys sit here and say, if we had to start all over again, dropped in the middle of nowhere with a pad of paper and a pen, that this is what we should do, I don't know. I would put some thought into that, because again, we've seen a lot of things. We've talked to a lot of people in a lot of different industries. This is where we would be if we had to start over again. So it's something you should definitely consider. So make sure you visit businesslendingblueprint.com. That's businesslendingblueprint.com. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.